On this episode of the Star Wars Time Show, Matt is going live to discuss the canceled Ben Solo film and why Disney brass shut it down. He will then pregame for Visions Volume 3 by going over his favorite shorts from the first two volumes of the franchise. Of course, he'll end the show with Question of the Week responses and the latest round of Top High Star Wars fan artist features. Punch it, Chewie. Hey now, everybody! Welcome back to the Star Wars Time Show. It's a live show this week. Just me. You'll be okay. Do not worry. I'm trying to figure out how to turn off all these damn screens. We'll get there at some point in time. There we go. Hey there, Kramer. Good to see you out there in the live stream chat. That's right. We are live this week. And by we, I mean myself and the mouse in my pocket and my freshly shaved face because I don't know how to use my clippers anymore. How's it going? Let me get my ears in. We're remodeling the kitchen these days and the guys are still working, so it's loud and I am definitely slightly distracted. So hopefully you all are doing good. It's always great to be live with everybody. And we got plenty of Star Wars to talk today. I mean, we've got some pre-gaming for Visions. That released today, Visions Volume 3, that is. We've got some stories to talk about. A canceled Ben Solo. Qimir's future, if Acolyte was able to continue. So we got plenty of Star Wars to discuss on this episode of the Star Wars Time Show. And as we know, there is always time for Star Wars Time. So it's good to be here, good to be back. Hopefully you checked out last week's episode where Nick and I finished analyzing, bitching, moaning, whining, whatever you want to call it, Empire Magazine's top 50 Star Wars characters of all time. Look at that, Kramer. You got your little baby Vader cat next to your name. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, people, that's because Kramer just became a channel member last week. So one of his perks is to get the Vader cat next to his name, and he will have access to special emojis like Tic Tac Thrawn or Darth Zeno. Don't ask. Just check out channel memberships right here, down below this video. Join, all that fun stuff. Even if you don't want to join, we would love for you to become a subscriber of the channel, if you know what I mean. All right, so if you're new here, the way we do things is we typically start with a little Ask Us Anything, so I'm going to do that. Then I've got a movie to discuss, and then we will get into our Star Wars topics. Speaking of the movie I need to discuss, I got to pull up a graphic for it real quick. The Bruce Springsteen movie. I don't know if anyone is a fan of The Boss, but I went and checked it out this weekend and quite enjoyed it. So that's not a good picture. Let's try this one. Here we go. Get an image rocking here. Oh, that's not going to work. Let's try this one. Open image in new tab. There we go. That's what we wanted. Hey there, Brucey. Or should we say Road to the Hut, right? Jeremy Allen White playing Bruce Springsteen and Jabba the Hutt's son these days. So kudos to him. Anyways, let's go ahead and flip screens over and check out this week's Ask Us Anything. Kramer, I don't know what video you're talking about, but I'll look after the show if you know what I mean. Where's everyone else? Why is it dead right now? Come on, this is live. There should be more people in here chatting away. Let's go, people. You're making me feel bad about myself. Why am I doing this stuff? You know what I mean? Like, why do I do this? I could be like Nick and do it 2 days a month. Just Monday, skip a week, do it another Monday, wham, bam, thank you, man, and we good to go. All right. Anyways, this stream ain't starting so hot. It doesn't seem anyone is here. But Kramer, we're not even having Strange walk in through the vertical feed, which is quite concerning. I don't know. Like, hey, our channel's usually dead. Who cares? I'm not here to bitch about it. So let's get down to it. Maybe it'll just be a quicker show since I'm mostly talking to myself and my man Qimir here. All right, well, let me go ahead and pull up the Ask Us Anything questions this week. There were a few of them. Some are a little long to read, so we'll see how that kind of plays out. But I'm always willing to answer questions from the fan. You just got to be paying attention to our social networks, be it Instagram, YouTube, Discord, which we have an open link down here in this video's description if you want to join that community. But we typically put the prompt out on Mondays. All you have to do is find it, reply, and then we will answer your questions. So let me see if I can get this screen switched up here. Okay, it worked there. It did not work down here, which is always cool. Thanks. Thanks, OBS. I love you. All right, so the first question here is coming from Tanish Q NGR, asking for Ask Us Anything. Hey there, Dank Fair. Good to see you, man. Yeah, well, I'll be talking about the Ben Solo stuff here in a little bit, but good to see you in the chat. You made the top 5 this week, so we're also going to be talking about that. But anyways, let's get to Tanish Q NGR's question here. They're asking why prequels are so loved when they have very, very terrible writing and screenplay. For me, Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones are not better than Force Awakens. Not saying that sequels are good or anything, but they are very comparable. And ironically, people that like prequels that have one good movie hates on Andor and Rogue One, which both have fantastic writing and acting performances and are critically acclaimed. I need to understand now. Well, let me try to understand you, Tanish there. It's Star Wars has become very generational. In fact, I suggest you check out this book that's coming out soon. I'm having the author on, I think the next time I'm live, so mid-November. But he wrote a book called essentially Who Controls the Myth, and it's all about Star Wars and how George Lucas was kind of the maker, the creator. He got it up and running, but all these decades later, through the EU, Legends material, Disney buying it, fans creating things, it's like, who is in charge of the myth now? Is it still George? Well, he doesn't own it. He hasn't contributed to it really since the Clone Wars cartoon series. So back to Tanish here. It's very generational. And then you have tribes that form around either the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, or now the newest one, the sequel trilogy. And like Tanish, I'm of the original trilogy generation. I'm old, right? The old guy that screams at clouds, that mantra that we roll around here. So when I first watched the prequels, I, like Tanish, was like, not the best, not what I expected. This isn't my type of Star Wars, you know? And then and we were beating up on the prequels and then beating up on the little kids that didn't like the prequels. Well, now the prequel generation, they're adults. They're in their 30s, late 20s. So they grew up with those movies as little kids. They watched them through the lens of a little kid. Therefore, they think they are amazing. Some people will tell me that the prequel trilogy is the only trilogy we need. It is the best trilogy of all time. And I digress on that point. I won't start screaming at you all for your prequel opinions. But the prequel generation, I agree. Thanks to social media and just being younger than the original trilogy generation, they seem to be the loudest, but that doesn't always mean that they are correct or that their opinions should make you feel like yours are worth anything less. So I really think it's the generational approach to the Star Wars trilogies, tribes that form around the trilogies, and then the warfare that takes place between the tribes of each trilogy. But like I said, if you want this explained in more detail, you got to check out the book Who Owns the Myth, coming out soon. I'm giving Pete a bunch of free plugs right now, so hopefully he does well when we have him on the show here in a few weeks. All right, Tanish, hopefully that answered your question. All right, next one coming from our boy Phil, Nick's friend, the astronaut guy. Since it's Halloween week, better zombie movie, Dawn of the Dead or Shaun of the Dead? Man, it's been a while since I've watched both, but I'm going to go Dawn of the Dead. I like the more serious approach to zombie films. Like, the gorier they are, the better to me. I really love Or is Dawn of the Dead a spoof too? I forget. I can't remember. Let me look this up. What is Dawn of the Dead? Let me see. Is that the OG or is Night of the Living Dead? Okay, Dawn of the Dead. Yeah, I'm definitely Dawn of the Dead all the way. I even like the one that came out in 2004. Like I said, it's a little more gory and graphic. So those are the type of zombie movies I like, Phil. There's nothing wrong with the comedic approach, through Shaun of the Dead and stuff like that. But I like the more serious, dire feeling type of zombie flicks, if you catch my drift. Yeah, Kramer, 28 years later, the 28 whatever franchise, that's a good one. Although the end of 28 years later gets a little weird. Like it just completely shifts the tone of that entire franchise when that one dude shows up who's like a king or something of all the street gangs there in London. But we'll leave that for another day. All right, next question here coming from James M. 2022. Should Ben Solo have his own animated spin-off anthology? Well, I'll talk more about Ben Solo here in a little bit. Sorry if you can hear that construction going on. I'm sure it sounds awesome. But I do think an animated spin-off is better for Ben Solo than what was being planned and eventually canceled by Bob Iger at Disney. I think this animated version of Ben, you could approach him throughout multiple stages of his life because you wouldn't have to worry about finding a young Adam Driver lookalike if you wanted to show his past with Mom Leia and Dad Han. So yeah, I think an animated anthology of young Ben, his fall to the dark side, would be what I would ask for if we were going to do anything else with Ben Solo. So James, I do think there should be a Ben Solo animated spinoff. But instead of it being set post-Tross, it should be a prequel. Let's see how he was as a kid, how he interacted with Chewbacca, the family best friend / his first friend, maybe his perceived pet friend, his early training with Uncle Luke, going on missions with Uncle Luke. I mean, some of this has been covered in comics, but I would definitely dig seeing it in animation. Kind of like what Dank Ferrick is saying here. Francisco Cosio 1319. Yeah, I mean, just like how the Clone Wars helped expand upon Anakin and really helped me come to terms with the prequels and Anakin's fall, I think an animated Ben Solo anthology, or just hell, an animated sequels anthology would be nice. Would help inform what we saw in some of the films. So I'm with you there, Dank Ferrick. All right, next question coming from our dude Kramer here. Thoughts about the Chauncey Billups ordeal, FBI arrests? And do you think this is a wake-up call for pro sport gambling? I honestly, I wish our FBI was focused on other things these days than busting high-profile NBA athletes and coaches. This one feels a little bit like retribution coming from the FBI and who runs the FBI. But yeah, I mean, listen, these athletes, they need to figure out this new world, this new landscape where gambling is legal. Sports betting is pretty much legal all over the country now. I mean, every network has an app. ESPN has an app. FanDuel, what the hell was the other one I used to use a lot? DraftKings, maybe. So, yeah, I mean, just the athletes need better coached on this subject, what they can and can't do. I know you should just be like, well, you should know better. Well, yeah, maybe they don't. So who knows? But I don't think gambling's going anywhere, and people are going to do nefarious shit when they can make a buck. That's just how it goes. All right, and then Kramer's ending with, and thoughts of Brian Kelly getting let go by LSU. Listen, if you don't get the job done at a program like LSU, you're not going to be around for a long time. I've heard Brian Kelly is kind of a horrible person. He doesn't sound like a great coach. He's losing the teams he shouldn't lose to, and really LSU hasn't done jack shit under his tenure. So that's what happens. I'm sure he got some fat buyout, so screw him, and they'll do just fine moving on. Oh my goodness, look who is here. Our boy Jared, Sir Dork, stopping by for a little bit on a live show Wednesday. Good to see you, buddy. It's been a while. All right, do we have any other questions here? No, that looks like it. So that's going to wrap Ask Us Anything. Now we're going to move into a little pop culture talk and then these Star Wars topics, because you're going, hey, if there's always time for Star Wars time, why the hell is this guy talking about sports gambling and LSU football? Well, here we go. Let's go ahead and get some things shifted up here. We'll bring back some of my screens. I really wish my buttons still worked like they used to. Thanks, technology. All right, so what'd I do here? Real quick, Bruce Springsteen. I've recently become a fan of this guy. I mean, my uncle's a mega fan, but once Bruce started coming on the Stern Show and doing interviews and playing live in studio, it's hard not to appreciate this dude, this artist that's been going for, decades and decades and decades and has hit upon hit upon hit, massive touring concerts, and just looks like he has a great time. So I was like, I'm going to go ahead and check out the biopic, Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere, which, I wouldn't say isn't a full-on biopic, because it mostly just focuses on a few flashes from his childhood and issues with his dad. But it mostly focuses on, I think, like 1981, 82, when he locked himself away to create the Nebraska album, and then how he had to kind of fight for his vision with the label and the studio and all that fun stuff. So I really enjoyed the movie. I've never seen Jeremy Allen Smith in anything, so it's kind of nice to see him bring Bruce to life, and I think he did a fantastic job. And I can't wait to see what he does with Rhoda the Hutt in The Mandalorian and Grogu now, because the dude definitely seems like a top-tier type of actor. And I'm excited to see maybe some more stuff he's acted in. Maybe I'll go back and watch, what is it, The Bear? That's the series where Jeremy Allen White. Sorry, am I saying different names? That's okay. So we'll see. Maybe I'll go back and watch that series at some point in time, because he was pretty fantastic in this Bruce movie, and the movie itself also is pretty good. So if you dig Springsteen, or you just like music, creation of songs in general, I think you will dig this film. Sir Dork is telling me that Jeremy Allen White is also in Shameless, so yeah, there you go, or whatever I called him before that. All right, so let's get off of that and let's get into the good stuff, the Star Wars stuff. Really the big thing out there, or at least it broke last week, and it broke through Adam Driver himself, which is pretty impressive. He's just like, screw it, the NDAs are up. I'm just going to go ahead and talk about what myself and Steven Soderbergh were planning over at Lucasfilm that Disney then canceled. All right. So if you're not aware, last week it was dropped in the AP News in an interview with Driver that he and Steven Soderbergh worked on a film called Hunt for Ben Solo. And apparently it was set after The Rise of Skywalker. So Ben Solo's dead. He became one with the Force. His body has disappeared. That's that. So again, he and Steven Soderbergh, two big names in Hollywood, took this to Lucasfilm and kind of pitched it to him because, as Adam says in the article, he was always interested in doing another Star Wars. And he said, I'd been talking about doing another one since 2021, so 2 years after Tross. And he said Kathleen had reached out even. I always said, with a great director and a great story, I'd be there in a second. I loved that character and loved playing him. So I know some people initially were like, hey, I didn't even think Adam wanted to do Star Wars anymore. So what's this all about? Is this bullshit? Well, no. I mean, this is coming from the horse's mouth right here. He's telling you, like, yeah, I'll come back and play Ben/Kylo as long as it's the right director and the right story. And apparently he found that in Soderbergh and The Hunt for Ben Solo. So the pitch again was a movie that would take place after The Rise of Skywalker. And the film would culminate in, I guess, Ren's redemption and apparent... Oh, I'm sorry. That we saw Ren redeemed. He became Ben Solo again, and he died at the end of The Rise of Skywalker. And apparently Adam had always undertaken the trilogy with an arc in mind for Ren that inverted the journey of Darth Vader. But as the trilogy evolved, it didn't quite play out that way. So he felt there was unfinished business for Kylo Ren, or as we knew him in his redemption, Ben Solo. So Steven Soderbergh and Rebecca Blunt, they created a story outline and then pitched it to Kathleen and Lucasfilm VP Carrie Beck, as well as Filoni. And the Lucasfilm creatives were interested. They pulled in Scott Burns to write a script. And Adam said at the end of that meeting, it was one of the coolest freaking scripts I had ever been a part of. So this thing was progressing along. It had Lucasfilm's backing. They were starting to hire writers. They had a script made, and it was again presented to Lucasfilm, and they loved it. I mean, Lucasfilm greenlit this movie. We got to make that clear. So everyone that's always been thinking that Kathleen Kennedy is the person out there that's ruining Star Wars and canceling movies and setting direction, it's really probably not her. At least not all the time. Definitely not in this case. I've always been telling all of you, you got to watch out for Bob Iger and a lot of these decisions that get made. You know, he's the boss. He's the one that is probably setting budgets and expectations. And he's the one that can, just willy-nilly cancel stuff like he did with The Acolyte and apparently this Hunt for Ben Solo movie. So, again, Lucasfilm totally understood where Soderbergh and Driver were coming from with the script and the idea. They knew why they were doing it. But then Adam and Steven took it to Bob Iger and Alan Bergman, and they said no. Apparently, they didn't see how Ben Solo was alive, and that was that. And as I said, Driver, the film was The Hunt for Ben Solo. But he said, but it is no more, so I can finally talk about it. And Steven Soderbergh also said, I really enjoyed making the movie in my head. I'm just sorry the fans won't get to see it. So it was killed by Bob Iger, Alan Bergman, Disney, not Lucasfilm. Okay, it's been killed by the money deciders at Disney. So Adam went on to say, we wanted to be judicial about how to spend money and be economical with it and do it for less than most, but in the same spirit of what those movies are, speaking about the sequel trilogy, which is handmade and character-driven. Empire Strikes Back being, in my opinion, the standard of what those movies were, but he is, to me, one of my favorite directors of all time. He lives his code, lives his ethics, doesn't compromise. So that was it. And just other follow-up here, like I said, Steven Soderbergh also confirmed via The Wrap that this indeed was greenlit. So Lucasfilm greenlit it, and apparently this is the first time in Disney history that Disney rejected a completed Star Wars script. So Bob and Alan definitely did not like this movie. They just could not understand how Ben Solo could return. Like everyone's saying in the chat here, like League, somehow Palpatine returned. So yeah, I mean, you could just use that to justify the return of Ben Solo. Although I argue it would almost, to me, it's almost even harder to justify Ben coming back to life in full because he died as a Jedi. He became one with the Force. His body disappeared. So, you would have to assume he is now a Force ghost. And I don't think there's precedent on how a Jedi, or I don't even think a Jedi, if we could call Ben Solo that, would want to come back. Obi-Wan said so himself to Vader, like, if you strike me down, I'll become more powerful than you can possibly imagine. And he did. In his ghost form, he could be anywhere at any time with Luke Skywalker and help guide him, mentor him, and kind of force him to that conflict with Vader to either take him out or redeem him. So I don't know how you spin that. Listen, I hate the somehow Palpatine return thing. But at least with Sith, you can kind of justify their arcane view of the Force and some of the dark shit they would do with it, creating life, resurrecting life, Momin passing his essence into a helmet. So that, to me, as silly as it all played out in The Rise of Skywalker and how terrible of a narrative choice it was, justifying Palpatine returning, at least to me, makes way more sense in my head than bringing back a Force ghost type of character. So that's why I was saying earlier when we got the question during Ask Us Anything, I'm like, hey, should Ben Solo get his own animated anthology? And I'm like, yeah, hell yes. Give the whole damn sequel trilogy and its narratives and its characters an animated anthology, kind of like we got the Clone Wars for the prequels. Because to me, I think the more interesting stories, and now we'll never know what the hunt for Ben Solo was going to be about. Was Rey going to be involved? Finn? Was it maybe a sect of dark side loyalists trying to bring him back and maybe coax him to rejoin the dark side? But it's like, I don't know how fun that would be to chase a Force ghost around. I don't know. Would it be like Star Trek 3, the search for Spock, where he's almost reincarnated, but at an accelerated growth level, so he actually becomes grown up Ben Solo again? So I don't know. I don't really think I'm super upset that the hunt for Ben Solo was canceled, because I've got too many questions about how is he going to be resurrected, and then what is really the meat of the story. To me, I think seeing younger Ben Solo and how he interacted with his family, what led him down the dark side, his exchanges with his uncles, his mission with his uncle, that's the stuff, to me, that would be more exciting for Ben Solo. So it is what it is. The fact that, him and Steven are so open to talk about it lets you know that, yeah, this project is dead. I mean, studios can kill things that have had money invested into it, time invested into it, people's passions invested to it, and they'll just sit on it. Because technically Lucasfilm is Disney. Disney told Lucasfilm, no, we're not doing it. It's canceled. But Disney still technically owns the rights to it. So they can sit on it, they can bury it, they can melt it, and it can never be recreated again unless they decide to sell it to another studio. So that is that for the hunt for Ben Solo. It's it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad. I mean, really, it's been so long since we had a Star Wars movie, and it does feel like Disney and everyone has kind of just peeled away from the sequel trilogy, and there's not much content coming out for it. They're more focused on the Mandoverse era. So that would have been cool to kind of get some new stuff set during the sequel era, but it doesn't seem to be the case because Bob Iger said, no, we are not going to spend money on the hunt for Ben Solo. But as I segue into the next little Star Wars news bit, it's related. These stories are connected because if you remember, Kylo had a last name, Ren. He was Kylo Ren. He was the leader of the Knights of Ren, kind of a sect of Force users who definitely leaned dark, but weren't Sith. But they would have red lightsabers, and they all dressed in black, and they had these crazy looking helmets, every single one of them. They really seemed like a cool little gang, and unfortunately, we got no insights into them during the sequel trilogy outside of a few cool looking, helicopter shots and Tross, and that's about it. And then Ben Solo kicking the piss out of them towards the end of that movie. So either way, the Knights of Ren were a cool faction, at least on paper. You want to know where they came from, why do they exist, why did the Sith kind of let them fuck around, why did the Jedi not take them out, how have they made it, through all these years being Force users without being taken out by Sith just for rule of two or competition stuff, or again, being kind of captured and locked up by Jedi. So the Knights of Ren was always a cool little sect of Force users, in my opinion. So how is Kylo tied to this next story? Well, if you'll let me fire this up for you here, if Screen Rant's site will load. There we go. It was recently revealed, both through Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, the good old Swago, and then by Leslie Headland via the Acolyte art book, that ultimately, Qimir, aka the Stranger, Manny Jacinto's character, the best character from The Acolyte, would have been the founder of the Knights of Ren. And I believe Nick and I, years back or last year when we were breaking down The Acolyte, we kind of speculated that this could be one of Qimir's potential paths. He said as much in The Acolyte season 1. He's like, listen, I guess you Jedi would probably call me a Sith, but I'm not. And he's also not a Jedi, even though it seems he trained under Vernestra Rwoh. So he was making it clear, like, no, I'm not one side or the other. And, we saw Darth Plagueis watching him, and maybe there was a reason for that. But what was revealed first in Galaxy of Heroes is kind of eye-opening. So his character is now in the game, and here is his description. Hailing from the High Republic era, the enigmatic warrior exploded onto the scene in the forest of Kofar in the Disney Plus show, The Acolyte. The Stranger's power is undeniable, cutting down an entire team of Jedi with relative ease. Acting as a member to both light and dark side Force users, he seeks to gather a group of powerful students while pursuing his own agenda. All right? As a mentor to both light and dark side Force users, as he was to May and Osha. Okay, check. He seeks to gather a group, not just one, so no rule of two, of powerful students while pursuing his own agenda. Not the rule of two, not following a Sith master. So that does make him seem like he is definitely not Sith, definitely not Jedi, but he's this new type of Force user that kind of floats in between the Force, uses what he needs, wants to build up a group of followers to pursue his own agenda. Yeah, that's very Knights of Ren-ish. If you also remember from The Acolyte, I forget which episode, I don't know if it's episode 5 or episode 6, but there's a very poignant moment where I think it's focused on Qimir's helmet, or Qimir's definitely in the scene. But you can hear Kylo Ren's theme. And that to me was the giveaway last summer whenever The Acolyte came out. Like, oh, maybe he's the model for the Knights of Ren. Maybe he's the basis. Hell, he could be the founder. So it's nice to kind of get validation here that he was going to be the founder of the Knights of Ren. And you're like, well, man, it's just a video game. That doesn't mean shit. Well, check this out. So apparently in the Art of the Acolyte book, Leslie Headland, so the series creator, she had this to say. Let me pull it up on X real quick. So here's a quote from the book. It was in the design of the character, as well as knowing that we were going to introduce Darth Plagueis, who has to end up with Palpatine as his apprentice. Following the rule of two, a precept that limited the Sith to just 2 at any given time, a master and an apprentice. One way to keep it going is if the Stranger is the first Knight of Ren, part of a Sith-adjacent cult that we know eventually survives. So, she's pretty much spelling it out there for us, that the way they're going to work with Qimir, if the Acolyte was to continue, was essentially portray him as someone that would go on to found the Knights of Ren. He is the first Knight of Ren. And even if you think about that, the mask he used to wear made out of cortosis, it felt very Knight of Ren-ish. You can kind of see their pictures here to remind everyone. There they are in their mask. Again, it's almost like some of these guys were using Qimir's helmet as a basis for their look. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, KG, good to see you in here. That could be a possibility. KG in the live stream saying, so it's possible the Stranger's real name is Ren. Yeah, maybe Qimir Ren. That's a good call. I wasn't even thinking about that, KG. But I don't know. Listen, I enjoyed The Acolyte. I'm not one of those fans that absolutely hated it, but Qimir was the shit. Like he's everything from The Acolyte. He is the standout. He was the best character. He had the best story going on, and I do believe his story for future seasons had the most meat to it, especially since we got teased with Darth Plagueis spying on him. Now we can infer that maybe Plagueis was spying on him to either hey, you want to be my apprentice, or I need to take this guy out because he's screwing with the rule of two and my plans to get my own apprentice and kind of take over the galaxy. So this one bums me out. I would love to see more Qimir. I don't see a path forward, unfortunately, unless it's done in animation or some silly Lego Star Wars stuff, which, hey, we like the Lego Star Wars stuff here, but listen, it's silly. It's not canon. Yeah, so it seems KG is thinking the same way on Qimir in terms of awesomeness out of the Acolyte. So that's what I got for you on the Ben Solo movie. Never going to see the light of day, especially since Disney canceled it. That means they're going to bury it, sit on it, and not let anyone produce it, even though Lucasfilm greenlit it and had a finished script. As I said, Soderbergh was saying this is the first time Disney has canceled a finished Star Wars script. So take that for what it is and start looking at the brass at Disney as possibly the ones that are canceling announced Star Wars projects, and not Lucasfilm and not Kathleen Kennedy. Although, again, she has her role in some of the odd decisions ever since Disney purchased the franchise from George way back in I think almost 2012 now. Yeah, I mean, Dank Ferrick bringing up a good point from the live stream chat. If you want to join the live stream, don't forget every other Wednesdays I do these live, youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show. We kick them off usually around 6 p. East or as close as we can get it. So, yeah, I mean, Lucasfilm, honestly, I would start saying Disney is reactive, not Lucasfilm. You remember, Disney owns Lucasfilm, and they can tell them what to do. So I think Disney is the one that ultimately says, yeah, Lucasfilm, Acolyte, didn't get the best fan response. Let's go ahead and cancel it. You know what I mean? Yep. All right, so let's move into kind of my last little segment. Now, we all know, or maybe you don't know, but Star Wars Visions Volume 3 has released today, October 29th. I have watched the first 3 episodes, so it was the duel payback, so it's a continuation of the duel from Volume 1. I watched a new one. I forget what it was called. It was like, hold on, let me look it up for you. The Song of Four Wings. And then I also watched The Ninth Jedi Child of Hope, which is, again, a continuation of the Ninth Jedi short from Visions Volume 1. I'll tell you right now, all 3 of these are pretty damn good. Borderline great. I'm not going to say they're all excellent. Right now, I'd say the Duel Payback and the Ninth Jedi are standing out. And the Duel Payback, out of those 3, has been my favorite so far. The Ninth Jedi, the sequel to The Ninth Jedi, still great. You can still see the world they're trying to build here, but it is a bit slow, not as good as the Duel Payback. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. All right? I'm not here to talk about Volume 3. Nick and I will be breaking those down on Monday when we do our pre-record, which will release next Wednesday, 6 p. East, or as close as we can get, right here on youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show. I don't know, KG, maybe check out Volume 3. I'll agree. I think Volume 2 was a bit of a stumble, but Volume 1 and so far parts of Volume 3 are kind of standing out. And I get it. It's not canon anything. It's not going to lay any new ground. But I really like these visions that these Japanese anime studios have been coming up. Like, man, they incorporate so many cool little nods to Star Wars that I dig it. Plus, if you enjoy the kind of the over-the-top nature of anime, that pays off as well. But really, what I wanted to do, just let's pregame a little bit. And we're going to pregame by going through really my top 10 favorite Visions episodes from Volume 1 and Volume 2. So what I did here, I took my top 5 from each. I built a little web app doing some vibe coding today with my AI companion. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of drag and drop and re-rank my top 10 favorite Star Wars Visions episodes from Volumes 1 and 2. That way next week we can get right to the ranking of Volume 3, if you catch my drift. All right, so let's get down to it. This list is not in order. In fact, it's in order of how I had them ranked initially, just per volume. So, when I ranked Volume 1, I went Ninth Jedi number 1, Twins 2, The Duel 3, Elder 4, Village Bride 5. And then for Volume 2, I went Screecher's Reach 5, Journey to the Dark Head 4, Sith 3, The Bandits of Golek 2, and In the Stars 1. So now my job is, let's rank these as a whole from 1 to 10. What has been the best episode of Visions through the first 2 volumes? And quite frankly, my friends, we're sticking with what is already number 1, The Ninth Jedi. I still like the very first episode in Volume 1 is just absolutely fantastic. It really was a captivating tale that expanded Jedi lore, lightsaber mythology, and quite frankly, way back when, I think 21 when it came out, I was already saying this is going to be, or this warrants a full series. And luckily enough, it has a sequel in Volume 3, and it's getting its own standalone series in 2026. So to me, Ninth Jedi still deserves to be at the 1 spot. So I'm going to leave it there. And kind of looking at this list and remembering the past and what I used to think about some of these from Volume 1 and Volume 2, I'm going to go ahead and keep the Duel, or move the Duel to my overall number 2. So the Duel Part 1, this was back in Vision Volume 1. It was just a striking black and white samurai-inspired duel that really reimagined Star Wars in a classic Kurosawa style. You got some color flashes in there with the lightsabers and blaster bolts, but it was super cool. It felt very Star Wars like, and it's almost like it's almost like what George may have had in his head at one point in time. I just have a feeling George Lucas would have loved the Duel, the whole concept of it, the look of it, the way it played out, kind of that old samurai / Western type of feel. It was just a really fun project, and tease, it may get even better in Part 2 that released this week on Volume 3. So I do think the Duel, like the Ninth Jedi, has legs. It's something that could keep being developed and be a series itself. All right, so who would I put at number 3? I'm definitely, for whatever reasons, I really enjoyed the Twins in Volume 1, but I still don't think it is number 3 overall. I'm going to go ahead and bring In the Stars up to the 3rd position here. And this web app's working pretty well. Go AI vibe coding. So In the Stars, if you remember, it was kind of like a stop motion presentation. It was these 2 sisters, and they're kind of taking on the Imperial machine and the destruction it wrought upon their planet or their city. And I loved the survival aspect, the sisters resisting, and ultimately the older sister kind of accepting her fate as the force protector, if you will. And kind of that little twist at the end really helped to kind of implant In the Stars in my mind as a really, really good Visions short. So I think number 3 is a good spot for In the Stars. Honestly, and this is probably going to upset KG, because they're in there saying, yeah, we don't, the over-the-top nature of anime is what turns you off. And I get it. Sometimes it's goofy, especially when they're mostly talking like, meow, oh, meow, meow, like that. I mean, it gets a little far out. I don't know. Maybe you should be on drugs or something. But I'm going to go ahead and keep the Twins at 4. This is the one, again, bombastic is a term I would use to describe it. Over-the-top anime spectacle that leans into wild force powers and gorgeous visuals. This one, to me, was literally Star Wars on anime steroids / rocket fuel. This is where you had the brother and the sister, and they were kind of running the dark side, and then the brother kind of peels out and goes against her. He does like some crazy-ass shuriken move, standing on like the nose of a ship to split another Star Destroyer. I mean, it's as anime gets. You know what I mean? It is as anime gets. So I don't know. It just stands out to me. It was one of the few Vision shorts that also got action figures. Hell, I have Twins socks, believe it or not. So I guess I should keep it at number 4 overall when it comes to ranking my top 10 Vision shorts from Volume 1 and 2. So hey, if you get toys made of you, you're doing something right. You're doing something right. Even KG can appreciate the artistry in some of these. I can appreciate that take, KG. There definitely is some legitimate artistry in each and every one of these, and that's why I appreciate about Visions, just allowing other artists, people that aren't 100% in the land of Star Wars, giving their vision, putting forth their idea of what Star Wars could be, and then really kind of stylizing it. All right, so at number 5, let me see, what would I bring up to number 5? I'm probably going to go the Bandits of Golak for this one. I can't help I'm still impressed that I got this web app to work. I'm not much of a coder, but now with AI and knowing how to use it, you can kind of do things if you have an idea and some time to massage it. So I think I'm going to start using this template for other rankings we do. But anyways, back to the Bandits of Golak. I really love this one because it gave us an energetic Indian-inspired story about siblings on the run and how the Force can kind of emerge in unexpected places. I mean, there was a great Inquisitor in this one, and in a Jedi duel in the Bandits of Golak. I would say it definitely was not anime. I mean, this one was like full-on 3D. Computer generated style graphics, kind of like what Star Wars Rebels or Bad Batch, those types of shows looked like. But this is another one where I like seeing how other cultures process Star Wars, and nice one, KG, and infuse their bits of their culture into the Star Wars universe. And I think out of all of these, or really out of all the shorts, the Bandits of Golak probably did that the best. Really infusing, things about Indian heritage, how they dress, how they look, some of their customs, and but it still felt very Star Wars-like. I mean, it felt appropriate. It felt like it could be a planet or characters that would be ran into in like Star Wars Rebels or something like that. So I really dug the Bandits of Golak and think it definitely earns its spot at number 5 overall when we're ranking the top 10 episodes from Visions Volume 1 and 2. It appears League digs anime, so that's why she says it's right up her alley. All right, so let's keep going here. Coming in at number 6. What would I put at number 6? So far I've got The Elder left, Village Bride, Screecher's Reach, Journey to the Dark Head, and Sith. You know what? I'm going to keep The Elder at 6 because when it comes down to it, Volume 1 is greater than Volume 2. Like, it's not even close, in my opinion. I really think Volume 1 was a great set of shorts. They felt like they belonged together in a volume, where Volume 2, because there were so many different studios and it wasn't just anime, it felt a little more disconnected. There was a lot more, varied animation styles, which, may be a reason some of you loved Volume 2 because it was so different. But in terms of the stories, I think the stories hit harder in Volume 1. So that's why I'm going with Elder at number 6 overall. It was a great story on mentorship and the dangers of having a mentee. It kind of perfected highlighting the struggle between master apprentice and the dark side. Plus the animation style, again, full on manga, full on anime. You had that old guy Sith that just oozed Japanese culture. He's like he looks like a wise man, but he's actually evil. And he felt evil. He had those awesome looking red katana shaped lightsabers. And, the Elder consisted of, I think, multiple duels, because I believe the old guy, the bad guy, takes out the Jedi's apprentice, and then the Jedi has to duel him. I just remember this one being visually awesome to look at, but also had a good story, kind of a laser-focused story on Jedi apprentice, their relationship, that struggle, but also the pull of the dark side and how dark side characters are always trying to bust up a master and apprentice, to take the apprentice for their own, to spoil the master's plan and get another Force user on their side. All right, so hopefully we're all doing good here. We appreciate you, KG, holding it down in the other chat room there. Until YouTube merges vertical streams and horizontal, we still have 2 chat rooms going, so I do appreciate you kind of hanging out there by yourself. I'm not sure why the vertical stream has not pulled in more viewers. It usually does, but oh well, I digress. It's not worth bitching about. So, who's coming in at number 7? I think I'm going to go Screecher's Reach up at 7, from what I can remember. I really like this one. I mean, it featured a haunting story about ambition and the cost of freedom. Lots of like gothic type of atmosphere stuff, visuals, but it also had a great twist. If you remember, this is the one where you kind of have like this young Force user who's being pulled to, I think, like a cave, and the whole time you're made to believe that the light side of the Force is calling out to them. It's wanting to get their attention, to have them kind of take the will of the light and spread it across the galaxy. But at the very end, you learn that the voice calling to this young Force user was a Sith, a dark side user. So it really subverted your expectations while you're watching it, and you get to the end, you're like, what? This was a bad person, and now is this young Force user going to follow the dark? So it was a great little twist in an episode that was probably 20 minutes or less. So you got to appreciate when they can weave that level of narrative in such a short time. So Screecher's Reach, I do think, is worth the 7 overall spot when we're talking about the top 10 best Star Wars Vision shorts from Volume 1 and Volume 2. And I'll tell you what, based on my early viewing of Volume 3, there's definitely going to be at least 5 from Volume 3 that would make this list as well. We'll have to do a top 15 maybe next year or down the road. All right, let's keep re-ranking our Visions episodes. We got to flesh out 8, 9, and 10. I think I'm going to go ahead and keep 8, The Village Bride. I really like this one. Again, it had kind of a really flat 2D anime style. It was also it felt very, I hate to keep using it, anime-ish. There you go. How's that for a word? But it offered up a meditative reflection on tradition, sacrifice, and what it means to be a Jedi. Had a good duel in it. I believe it was a female lead. Not that it matters, but it's always nice to see Star Wars through different genders, different alien species. That's always cool. I always like new takes on Star Wars, which is why I like Visions and why I enjoyed the Village Bride. So I think we can keep that one at 8, leaving us with 2 more spots to fill. And luckily we have 2 more episodes to rank. So apparently my web app is still working. It has not blown up my computer yet. And I've been digging it. I don't know about you all watching the live stream. I don't know if it is giving you a good visual to follow, but hopefully it's working out for the purposes intended. All right, so who am I going to do 9 and 10? Should I just leave Journey to the Dark Head at 9 and Sith at 10? I'm kind of having a hard time remembering Journey to the Dark Head. Yeah, you know what? I am. I'm going to leave. No, I'm going to take Sith up to 9 because that one I just remember more, and I think so because of its visuals. This one to me was not anime inspired in terms of the visuals. It was like someone was on a freaking acid trip or they ate mushrooms when they designed Sith. It was just a like I said, a visually stunning tale of a lone Sith struggling to find herself beyond darkness and light. There's just some really cool concepts in this one, really interesting visuals. You know, it's almost like they were in a painting, or a painting come to life. You had a really cool looking, I don't know if it was an Inquisitor or someone that was coming to hunt down the main character, who I believe was dark side oriented. But the Sith just stands out to me because of how freaking far out it looked. And not just the overall, like, over-the-top anime stuff. No, like I said, I don't think it's anime at all. It was very dreamlike, psychedelic, if you will. So I think for those reasons alone is why I would put it at number 9, which then leads me to Journey to the Darkhead. So, you know, this episode, super action-packed. It kind of explored the concept of a prophecy, which is massive in Star Wars. I mean, we had the Chosen One prophecy. You could argue, you know, there was kind of a prophecy around Luke, at least in Yoda and old Ben's eyes. You know, they thought he was the one that could, you know, help return Vader or get rid of Vader and help the Jedi return. So the Journey to the Darkhead dealt a lot with that type of stuff, destiny, and just the balance between light and dark. This one for Volume 2 was probably the most anime influenced in terms of its visuals, the way the characters looked. They were very, you know, emo looking, almost feminine, even if they're male characters. But it had just those insane visuals. It had a fantastic duel. I can see the lights in my head. I think they're on like some big circle platform in a dark setting, and it was just kind of a spectacle to behold. So there you have it. There you have it, my friends. That is how I would rank the top 10 Star Wars Visions episodes from Volumes 1 and 2. And like I said, one day we'll have to re-rank these with 5 of the best from Volume 3, but I need to watch all those first. So if you missed it, here is my ranking order. At number 1, we have The Ninth Jedi from Volume 1. We then have The Duel from Volume 1. We then have In the Stars from Volume 2, The Twins from Volume 1, The Bandits of Galak from Volume 2 at 5, The Elder from Volume 1 at 6, Screecher's Reach from Volume 2 at 7, The Village Bride from Volume 1 at 8, Sith from Volume 2 at 9, and coming in at number 10, Journey to the Darkhead. So that's how my re-ranking plays out. Volume 1 taking the top 2 spots, really top 4 spots. But, you know, I moved some Volume 2 action up there. I'm not just a Volume 1 homer, if you will. So there we go. Hopefully everyone checks out Star Wars Visions Volume 3 before next Wednesday, because that's when our episode breaking down Volume 3, where myself and my co-host Young Nick, who is not here for the Wednesdays lives, will do our own personal rankings and probably have some sort of setup like this where we'll drag them live and rank them live, hopefully, if I can keep the vibe coding vibes going. All right, so as we start to round out this episode of the SWTS Live, let me check out what League has to say here. League saying, SW Visions had a story and animation style for everyone. I don't understand why so many slept on it. Hey, that's the fandom for you. Yeah, you know, I mean, to each their own, really. I get it. There are some people that are like, hey, if it's not proper Star Wars, I don't want any part of it. That's okay. I'm a fanboy, so I'm going to consume it all. Even if I don't like it, I'll consume it and let you know why I didn't like it. And it's very hard for me to not like something in Star Wars. I definitely do not get worked up and so intense and feel like my soul has been violated if I don't love something Star Wars. I'm always going to love at least a little bit. And that's enough for me, because there's always time for Star Wars time, as we say around the SWTS. All right, if you're new here, you know that we're going to go ahead and close out this episode with a dedicated fan segment. We do it every week, whether we're live or not. There's 2 ways to get involved. We've got the question of the week response that we post on our socials, so Instagram, Discord. Again, we've got an open Discord link in this description of this video. If you want to join up, come say hi, hang out with the likes of League and Kramer. Sometimes Sir Dork pops up in there. You never know. We also put it on our YouTube post page. So become part of the community and get involved in the fan segment to have your thoughts and your arts, because that's part 2. We do the top 5 as well during this fan segment. So let's go ahead and start with the question of the week responses. So give me a second as I flip up some screens for you. Of course, it doesn't work down there. I really need my technology fixed. And I actually didn't break it this time, okay? This is not me. This is some of the apps I use were updated recently, and they don't like to talk to each other anymore. So yay, app development. Yay, not testing your patches. Yay, updates that break things when they're supposed to make them better. Woo-hoo. All right, let's get a little subscribe notice out there. If you are new, if you're watching this and you're not here and I'm not talking to you live, we'd love a subscribe. If anything, just give us that little subscription. If you want to take things deeper, consider joining the channel as a member. All that stuff's down here. Click on that join button for as low as $1.99. You know what I mean? All right, so let's go ahead and see what the fans had to say about this week's question of the week. I always theme them around our topics. So we asked the fans a little something about the Ben Solo movie. In particular, we asked them, what are your thoughts on the canceled Ben Solo movie? Good idea? Bad idea? So let's see what they had to say. Sadly, there weren't many responses because no one loves me. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, don't worry, Francisco. I've got your feedback here for question of the week, but I'll go ahead and pop up that comment there for you. Let people read it if they're watching the stream. So anyways, speaking of dankferric.toys, here they go. Adam is one of the best things that gave us the sequels. I'm no sequels fan, but he deserves more. So clearly Dankferric, a.k.a. Francisco, is definitely for the Hunt for Ben Solo movie, and I'd wager they're quite upset that it was canceled. So, yeah, hey, I mean, like I said, I'll take anything new Star Wars, especially if it's a movie. I love cinema. I love going out to the theater, and I really love going out to the theater to watch Star Wars. But I would have preferred more of a prequel approach if we're going to bring back the character of Ben Solo. I guess at that point, Driver probably couldn't have been involved because they would have had to de-age him, or they had to find a kid that looks like him. So, hey, Disney's lost a lot of money, not from Star Wars necessarily, but Disney Plus, its TV app. I mean, I think it bleeds like $1 billion a year on Apple TV Plus. So Bob's like, nope, I'm not giving you 150 to 200 million to make a Star Wars movie where the character is dead, and I don't see how they can be brought back, even though somehow Palpatine has returned. I hate to say it, but it is what it is, and it is truly never going to see the light of day, or you never would have heard about it from Adam and Steven. Like, that is how dead this project is. It is dead, as in D-E-D. All right, who else we got here? Oh, we got a question of the week response from Phil over on YouTube. I think it would have been a cool idea to explore. If we have to live with somehow Palpatine returned, then I think the Ben Solo idea is well within the realm of feasible. I too, don't get me wrong. Like I'm not someone's like, I'm not Bob Iger. I'm not Alan Bergman going, I don't understand how Ben Solo could come back to life. I understand that Star Wars is science fiction fantasy and it's not real. And that's all it really takes to understand anything Star Wars. Anything fantastical in Star Wars. You just go, hey, guess what? It's not fucking real. I guess I get why, ultra rich people like Bob and Alan don't get that, because I don't think they live in reality. They're 1%ers more than likely. They don't really know what the hell's going on. They just control the purses, and all they care about are stock prices. They don't care about the art. They don't care about the stories being told. They don't probably really care about the artists telling them. So I'm with everyone. Hopefully I've made that clear. I would have taken the Hunt for Ben Solo movie as written by Steven and Adam. I just personally think there's more meat on the bone to tell a prequel story about characters like Ben Solo or even Rey or Poe or Finn. I think there's way more avenues to explore prequel wise than having a hunt for a supposed dead character. You know, who's hunting him? The Knights of Ren, Rey, some faction we don't know about. Why can't he just hang out with his mom and uncle as a Force ghost? That's the one thing. I mean, technically he died a Jedi / light side Force user, so he became one with the Force. I don't know how you come back. Where the Sith, they don't become one with the Force, but they transfer their essence into other objects. So as stupid as somehow Palpatine returned is and forever will be, I can see that through line better than resurrecting a character that became a Force ghost. Literally, their meat, their raw material is gone. They are an essence. They are a spirit. So who knows? Maybe he would have been like a Sith and infected another body, or maybe they put him in a robot. I have no idea, but sadly it doesn't matter because we're not getting it. Okay, so now we got a few more from our Instagram friends. First up, Toyverse Rick. I wish this movie could see the light of day someday. Well, it's not going to happen. I'm sorry. Like I said, the fact that we got people talking about it means that Disney has buried it. It's going nowhere, and it's never going to see the light of day. So it's not going to happen. Veer_Melior1 dodged a bullet. I thought Adam Driver was done with Star Wars. So clearly Veer was no fan of this project. But Veer, you should know, as quoted in the article, that Adam said he would always come back to Star Wars with the right conditions, which was a director and a great story, and apparently he felt like he had those in The Hunt for Ben Solo. All right, we got League of Extraordinary Sixers, and she's replying with a classic gif of our man Kylo Ren doing the more from The Last Jedi during the Battle of Crate. It's a great look there. I like the red laser eyes there, League. So clearly League is all about some more Ben Solo as well. And then we have Scion XTC saying, I'll always want more movies. I like that. Good grammar there. The idea of the Ben Solo movie sounds interesting, and I would have gotten behind it. Honestly, a movie about his turn to the dark side in the damn Knights of Ren is needed. That's what I'm saying, Scion, but he was actually talking about a movie set after his death in The Rise of Skywalker. So, unless there were plans for like a flashback, that could have been cool. Like it's just Kylo as a Force ghost reflecting on his past and some of the bad decisions he made in life while people are hunting for him, or maybe he's hunting for himself. Hey, maybe that was the take. You like that? See? Big brains over here at the SWTS. But yeah, that's what I've been saying. I think the real story of Ben Solo is his turn to the dark side and how that went down. And I would have loved to just see a young Ben Solo hanging out with Mommy Leia and Daddy Han. I mean, come on! And, his best friend Chewbacca. It would have been fantastic. League asking, did you see the plane with the sign flying, bring back Ben? I saw that. I saw stuff from Times Square. And honestly, League, I'll tell you right now, someone that deals with AI every day, both from a creative standpoint, a learning standpoint, a knowledge standpoint, and a teaching standpoint. And I hate to say this, but it's hard for me to believe anything anymore that's on the internet, especially images or hell, even these days, videos. It's so easy to spoof this shit now that I can't really buy into that shit being real unless someone was on the ground and saw it. If someone was on the ground and saw the plane flying the banner to, keep Ben alive, or saw the sign in Times Square, let me know. Otherwise, I think it's just AI slop and internet fodder, if you will. All right. So that takes care of the question of the week responses. Now we're going to go ahead and shift into our final fan segment, and that is the top 5 Star Wars fan artist features of the week. The way to get involved here is purely over on Instagram. What you need to do is use the hashtag Star Wars Time Show, but more importantly, in anything you share, if it's art, if it's Star Wars related, we want to see it. Make sure to do add tag at StarWarsTime.show. From those tagged shots, myself or Nick will choose our top 5 favorite creations from you fan artists of the week. All right. Well, since Nick's not here, I'm doing the live. I did the picking. So let's see which ones I went with this week. Before I do that, I'm just going to make sure that this one thing is working, and then we'll get to it. All right, here we go. So first up in my top 5 for this week is from dankferric.toys. You know, Francisco's kind of been watching the live stream. Hopefully he's still here to be honored. But I absolutely love this shot. So let me explain it to you if you're not on the live stream or watching the video. We've got old Luke, so angry Luke, a.k.a. Jake Skywalker, on Acto. And he's looking very, he's reflecting. He's thinking. He feels like he's contemplating something. He's walking through moss. There's rocks. But what really sells this shot from dankferric.toys is the inclusion of his dad. Anakin is there as a Force ghost with his arm about to go around his son. And it's the way it's portrayed, it's as if Luke doesn't even know Anakin's there, which makes sense. If you think about this version of Luke, the Acto Luke, he shut himself off from the Force. So he would not sense his dad there with him. So I love this concept from Dankferric Toys. I think it's executed perfectly. It's just, I don't know, it's a great like Skywalker family picture, if you will. It's just so cool. And it reminds me of some of the moments we got in the Ahsoka series where Anakin comes back as a ghost and starts mentoring her again. Especially at the end there when she looks up and sees him watching over her. And that's exactly what he's doing here with his son, who is now an old man and looks way older than Anakin did when he ceased becoming Anakin and became Darth Vader. So I love this shot from dankferric.toys. Check them out over on Instagram and give them a follow. Yeah, here he goes. It's they're in the artist is in the live stream. They're saying Anakin is saying, "I'm here, son." So yeah, I got all that, Francisco. That's how well of a shot it is. It is a piece of art. Definitely dig your style. So check them out, dankferric.toys on Instagram. Next up, I figured why not? It is Halloween week over here in the States. We might as well pick a few shots that were themed for this holiday. And this one from Karen Kolsch on Instagram, KarinKoelschch, is awesome. The caption is ready for a Halloween party. And again, if you're not here, I'll try to describe it to you. But it is the kids from Skeleton Crew with SM-33 in their Halloween costumes. It is so awesome. I mean, you've got I forget their names already. Isn't that terrible? I remember Neil, but I already forget everyone else. Oh my God. How can I forget their names? I got to pull this up. I'm embarrassed. I even interviewed some of these people on the show. Oh man. Skeleton Crew. So much for me actually knowing my shit. All right, so I got SM-33. I had Neil. All right, KB. I forgot that. KB's looking good. We've got Wim, and then we've got Fern. All right, there we go. So KB, she's kind of got a bat necklace on. Yeah, I guess, I don't know, maybe she's going vampire. Wim, he's got some hood on. I guess he's playing a Jedi for Halloween. Neil's the best. He's just got the good old ghost costume, so he's got the cutout eyes draped over him. SM-33 as a mummy, so he's all wrapped up perfect for a robot. And then Fern too. I don't know if Fern's going more like a witch or if she too is kind of sporting the Jedi robes, but it's just a fun composition, perfect for this week to celebrate Halloween with a little Star Wars fan art. So great work here from Karen Kolsch over on Instagram. All right, up next in our top 5 Star Wars fan artists of the week, we have Photoygrafo, all one word, Photoygrafo. FAFO, and that's pretty much what this shot is depicting if you're a stormtrooper and you mess with Din Djarin, the Mandalorian. They are getting a FAFO moment because it looks like they effed around with the Mandalorian, and now they're finding out. So this is just a great action toy shot from Photoy Grapho. You got the Mandalorian. It looks like streets of Tatooine. He's got there's two stormtroopers trying to beat him down with their weapons. He's got his knife up ready to stab one, maybe in the back of the neck. It looks like he already pushed one down, so you got a stormtrooper falling towards the camera. Another stormtrooper behind Din getting ready to gun stock him. And then you've got kind of like a clone style trooper back there getting ready to shoot him in the back. It's just a cool looking action shot. Great posing on the point of Photoy Grapho, and really dig this composition. And we're learning from Francisco that Photoy Grapho is a fellow photographer artist from Chile. So excellent. Thank you for the tip. Hey, KG's back. Yeah, KG coming in saying, "Hey, I hope we can eventually get a Skeleton Crew 2." Yeah, me too. I really love that franchise. I thought it was a breath of fresh air. Loved Jadnan Nawood, the little kids, Wim, KB, Fern, Neil. I thought it was fantastic. So I definitely love to see this one picked up here. Hopefully you got to see the art of the Skeleton Crew dressed up for Halloween. All right, next up on our list of this week's top 5 Star Wars fan artists, we've got another Halloween themed shot. This one is coming from Rippic __tan on Instagram. And I dig these ones. I mean, these little pit droids have been making their rounds in the toy photography community. They are great looking figures. It looks like they're super fun to pose. Plus, you can put them in comical situations like this one. So we've got one pit droid who's kind of squatting down and has another pit droid on his shoulders to boost him up to get to a higher ledge on, it looks like a water vaporator or vaporizer. And the pit droid on top of the other pit droid's shoulder is trying to place a pumpkin. So wherever they're at, I don't know if this is Pelimoto's shop, they are decorating it for the Halloween holiday. And it just looks great, man. I mean, these like I said, these pit droids are super cute, super fun. And the toy photography community is definitely having a field day with them. I'll never forget the one Karen Kolsch did maybe a month or two back where it was like a pit droid bathroom. You had one sitting on the toilet, one in the shower. They're just living life like the rest of us. So make sure to give Rippic __tan a follow on Instagram if you're not already doing so. Okay, and our last top 5 for this week comes from the Lego toy photographer master himself, Tong Wars, all one word, TONGWARS. What we've got here is it looks like Ki-Adi-Mundi squaring off against 3 chicken walkers or ATSTs. Again, these are all Legos, so Lego bricks. So you got 3 Lego ATSTs, one prominently in the center, 2 flanking. And then actually you've got Key facing them and he's blurred out. So the forced perspective is on the main chicken walker. And it's just like, it's like the little man against the world, David versus Goliath. It has those types of feels. And it's just great. I mean, Tong always does his photography outside. He has this great location that gets some amazing looking skies. This one has a little splash of sun, but also some great thick looking ominous clouds. There's a moon or a planet up in the sky. It's just, it's a well-composed shot. And the whole Lego aesthetic just gives it that extra charm, if you know what I mean. So make sure to give Tong Wars a follow over on Instagram. Yeah. I'm glad you appreciate that, KG. This is kind of one of our usual segments to end the show. We'll do question of the week and the top 5. So, hey, we got through question of the week. We got through top 5. We re-ranked Visions Volume 1 and 2, the 10 best episodes, to get you all ready for Volume 3, which is out now today, October 29th. So make sure you're watching those, because next week, this show will be premiering on Wednesday, 6 p.m. East, right here, same channel, same time, same place. It'll be a pre-record, but we'll have the instant premiere on so we can come in and chat. But on that episode, myself and young Nick, we will sit there and rank live the latest 9 shorts from Star Wars Visions Volume 3. So thanks as always for tuning in, my friends. If you are new here, like I said, we'd love you to consider subscribing to the channel. It's not going to cost you a thing. Or if you really liked what you saw or heard and you feel like I deserve a little bit of payment, a little bit of cachet, if you will, for what we do over here at the SWTS, consider becoming a channel member. Starts as low as $1.99, goes up to $9.99. You get various perks throughout, but the only perks that matter are the ones that League is displaying right now in the live stream. The Vader cat next to your name, and then the custom emojis, and she has used the golden Vader head statue. KG is saying, as a photographer myself, I'd love to get into toy photography, but I can't afford the toys. That is correct. These damn toys have gotten more expensive than ever. I'll tell you what, KG, one toy line never to collect are hot toys. Because while these things look absolutely amazing, they cost upwards of, $300. Thanks again for tuning in, Dank Ferrick. See you, brother. I'm glad you made the stream. We appreciate your support. Keep up the great looking art. League laying out all the membership emojis for everyone to see. Thanks for that assist there, League. I appreciate you. Just keep it going, man. Keep beating the SWTS drum for us. Let people know we do the shows on Wednesdays. Sometimes they're live, sometimes they're pre-recorded. But we're always here to chat with the fans and have a good time, because there is always time for Star Wars Time. And if you listen to the Star Wars Time show, or if you consume the Star Wars Time show's content, the Force will be with you. Always. Hey, vertical stream. Oh, I wish these buttons would just start working again.